These programs, how long have you been doing teen court?
Teen court is about 15 years at this point that we've been doing it. More than 15,000 kids have been diverted from from the Court of Juvenile Jurisdiction in one or more counties as a result of their participation in teen court outreach for youth.
How widespread is teen court in the state of Indiana?
There are teen courts throughout the state of Indiana. There are 23 at this time in the state of Indiana, serving all four corners and everything in between.
Okay. On the teen court, is there any adult, is there a judge? Could you explain that in a little more detail to me?
Okay. In the court is, of course, the jury that sits, and we have two attorneys, the defense attorney and the prosecuting attorney. The judge is a practicing attorney in central Indiana that sits as, that helps us facilitate court by volunteering to sit as judge in the courtroom. We do have that opportunity for adults. We also have opportunities, as Christopher mentioned earlier, about the restorative justice facilitating. As long as they're able to participate in that two-day training, they are then eligible to participate as a facilitator in any conferences that we have. In some of those cases that we see from Marion County, once we do the intake interview, we then determine whether they're more appropriate for the teen court program or more appropriate for the restorative justice conferencing. And any of those attorneys that sit as judge in teen court can also, as long as they're trained, facilitate in our restorative justice program.
What would make a difference from one going to the teen court or to the other? What would be a determining factor there?
One of the main determining factors is the victim, being able to identify the victim first off, and then actually asking the victim to participate. The victim has a choice of whether to participate or not. Certain offenses that you see, in particular the domestic battery cases that we see, we feel like it would be better served with the conference than to have to sit into a courtroom. That way you're able to kind of repair the harm that has been done within that household. Since the crime took place within the household, usually between the kid and the parent, you are able to repair some of that harm and move on so that they can have a more comfortable household. So in those type of cases, restorative conferencing would probably serve better than teen court and having to sit into a courtroom and face a judge.
How do you get jurors, or someone to sit on the jury? How do you do that?
Several ways. The main way is that we hold trainings. We recruit from schools, from community centers, anywhere that there are youth in the community. We recruit them and ask them if they want to be involved. A lot of kids find that exciting, that they're able to hold a position of some positive power and influence, whereas in other areas of their life they may not have opportunities to exercise that power. Being so young, they get that power taken away from them so often. So they get excited about that, and we hold trainings regularly, about once every other month. And we will be happy to hold more trainings than that, but we usually do them once every other month. And they come to the training. They then are eligible as a jury member, so they serve on the jury for a certain number of times. Then they are eligible to be trained as an attorney. And then they can be trained as an attorney and have to shadow an attorney after the training for a couple of cases, whatever would make them comfortable to be in that position as an attorney, and then they're off and running as attorneys. Other ways that we get volunteers is that a lot of times when a kid has gone through that program, one of the consequences they may receive is to have to come back and serve on the jury themselves and help determine someone else's consequence. And once that kid has seen how that process goes, and they've been on the other side of the fence, so to speak, they kind of get hooked a lot of times. We see that quite often in our teen court program. They get hooked, and then they're next thing you know, they're asking us how can they be more involved, and can they sit on the jury more times than that. So of course we're going to say yes, and then bring them back for a training, and get them more in depth about the ins and outs of how the teen court process is run. And after that, they're off and running as jurors also. And a lot of times those are some of our more valuable volunteers simply because they've been through the program before. And they have that experience having to sit there and go through the program, and now they get to see the other side of it.
So the kids are represented by an attorney, which is a teen also.
Yes.
Okay. And the only adult in the teen court is the judge
Yes.
in the actual.
There are representatives from Reach for Youth there as well. Excuse me. And we're there really to provide case management services and to help the family understand the consequences that were provided in the sentence and how those need to be completed and everything else.
Is the learning process or parents is acceptable to this form of action? Do they like it? Have you noticed very positive input from them?
It varies, actually. For the most part, those kids who are coming here, parents really appreciate the second chance and are thrilled to help us help their kids with the consequences that they have. We do occasionally have someone who won't complete the program successfully because of lack of parent support, parent involvement, etc. We do see that sometimes. But for the most part, parents are really glad that their kids are getting this second chance, and they're supporting their own kids through the process.